It's been nearly 4 months since Duskhaven, by far my favorite World of Warcraft private realm ever, shut down. Duskhaven 2.0 Reforged was originally expected to be released around October, early November at the latest. As we're now nearing the end of November, without even a PTR being announced, let alone released, it's safe to say this tentative deadline has been completely missed, and it seems doubtful we'll have a release before the end of the year. I could be wrong, of course, and truly hope I am mistaken here. So if you haven't been following the teasers and news released by the Duskhaven team, yet want to play here, you might be scratching your head and wondering what is taking them so long. In today's video, I'll give you an overview of the changes coming to Duskhaven 2.0, what the team is working on, and then I'll give you my opinion on the whole affair. Generally speaking, the Duskhaven team, which has greatly expanded since the early days of just having one developer, seems to be working hard and doing all kinds of things to prepare for the launch. They certainly don't seem to be lacking in enthusiasm or output. For example, let's look at the possible races and classes we will be able to play. Whereas Duskhaven 1.0 gave you the option between the 10 TBC or Wrath of the Lich King races, 2.0 seems to be going for a lot more, with everything that's available in retail Dragonflight and even more. The way they go about it is having a grand total of 26 playable races, divided among 5 major categories. Kingdom races include humans, cold tyrants, dwarves, dark iron dwarves, gnomes, and undead. The ancient elves predictably have night and blood elves, but also their Illidari counterparts, which can only be demon hunters. There are also high elves, void elves, and nightborn. Exodar travelers are of course the Draenei, as well as Lightforged Draenei and the Broken and Eridar. Among the tribal races, we've got 5 horde-only options: orcs, trolls, Zandalari trolls, Tauren, and goblins. And finally, there are wildkin races, such as the Worgen for Alliance and Vulpera for the Horde. And both factions can choose a panda, yes, they're included, or even a Draktyr. The latter can be plenty of classes as well. There's no option for an evoker yet. While we're on that subject, if you look at the bottom of the screen, you can see all the planned classes, which are basically the same as on Duskhaven 1.0, but they've all got their own class now and aren't tied to an existing one. All in all, this looks pretty fun, with so many options and customization, and races such as the Eridar that aren't even available in retail. Moving on, the Duskhaven team is also working on class design, which means new spells, like this Arcane Mage Kamehameha, and adding stuff like spell charges. Every class will be getting some new toys, but of course this seems to imply that things from 1.0 will inevitably be taken away. There are plenty of graphical updates incoming, such as HD character models and updated NPC models, new Demon Hunter and Druid forms. New zones are added, such as this town in Ashara, and old zones like Goldshire are getting an overhaul. New quests and quest change will be implemented too, as well as raids. This has always been a great feature of Duskhaven, and I hope they're keeping the old custom raids like Ashara Crater and the Emerald Dream too, and of course the heroic versions of Onyxia, Molten Core, ZG, and Blackwing Lair. The launcher is getting a rework as well, which wasn't sorely needed, but it definitely looks better now and hopefully works more smoothly as well. Another large feature are new talent trees. Gone are the customized Wrath of the Lich King talent trees. Instead, we're getting a Dragonflight-esque UI, which looks pretty good so far. And finally, there are random additions, such as changes to the base race's starter gear and a new emote collection on the Discord server. I'm sure I've missed a lot of things, but this seems to be the bulk of what they're working on and why it's taking so long for a release. It's definitely a lot of work. Now, how do I feel about this? Generally, Duskhaven 2.0 seems to be a huge step away from what 1.0 was. A modified Wrath of the Lich King / Classic Plus game. 1.0 had clunky aspects, but it was generally pretty simple and worked well. All of the aforementioned changes, not to mention things like probably removing hit and expertise, lead me to believe Duskhaven Reforged will be more like retail World of Warcraft than Classic or Wrath of the Lich King. Is that good or bad? It'll depend on your personal taste, but in my opinion, which I've expressed in my video about retail, this isn't great. Duskhaven 1.0 was far from perfect, but it was the simplicity of the old school game combined with features such as custom raids and classes and the Mythic Plus system which made it so awesome for me, and I'm sure many 1.0 players agree. It also seems to me that they're putting time and effort in things that, frankly, do not matter that much and should not even be considered until after the game is released and running smoothly. All of these new races are fun, but do we need them? Wouldn't it be better to just add that in a later patch? The same can be said about HD NPC models, or a new emote collection or new starter gear. Does anyone really give a shit about that? Would anyone not play on Duskhaven because of their absence? What I expected all these months ago when 1.0 shut down was a rework and an update of the server, removing the kinks and bugs and polishing the game here and there, but releasing essentially the same game, with of course some needed changes such as giving Bard, Tinker, Monk and Demon Hunter their own class and talent trees, a better launcher, and then just testing content before it's released. What we're getting now will likely be a completely new experience. That isn't a bad thing per se, and it could very well, and probably will be, an upgrade overall with a larger player base. But if, like me, you loved the old game and were expecting the same general Duskhaven vibe without the annoying bits, I fear we're in for a nasty surprise. Anyway, all of this is pure speculation at this point. It's very possible the developers managed to keep the spirit of Duskhaven 1.0 intact, while simultaneously introducing all of these new features. If they can do that, there is no doubt in my mind that Duskhaven Reforged will be the best World of Warcraft server out there, bar none. Anyway, that's all I've got for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and see you in the next video, which will probably be when the PTR finally is released.